Hello, hello, hello. How's everyone doing? Another week, another episode. This is Stats Over Politics. As always, I'm your host, Shaun alongside my guys, Mr. Jaevon Toddy and Mr. Garry Singh. Kevin Dent is unable to join us tonight, but we will see him again next week. Jaevon, how are we doing, bro?
Celtics are up 3-1. Couldn't be any happier, you know. People were saying, oh, they dropped one at home, guys. I'm like, hey, let's calm it down a little bit. Order has been restored. Celtics are up 3-1. We'll be fine. I can't wait to see. Let's not look ahead. We're going into game 5. Okay. Gotta get whoever's in front of us out the way first, and then get to that ECF again. Oh, Jason Tatum's gonna be in the Eastern Conference Finals again. Wow. How many times has he been there? I mean, he's only how old? 24, 25. I don't know, man. He's pretty good.
How many finals appearances with all those Eastern Conference Finals?
Oh, okay. He's got one, but I mean,
one going on 2, perhaps.
He's 5. He's 25.
Well, Jaevon, the only thing I would say as a rebuttal to your opening statement is, how could you be happier? You could be happier if they won game 2 and held down their home court. That's how you could be happier. Anyways, Garry, how are we doing, brother?
We're good, my man. We're ready to rock and roll. Let's get it. Another episode, 96, coming down to 100. All these, we had three series tied 2-2 in primetime basketball, baby. Love to watch it. Let's get it.
Yes, sir. I'm very excited because we got some great series in the NBA playoffs. And as Jaevon and I were saying before things got started here in the pre-show chat, the WNBA season starts tomorrow as well, guys. And Caitlin
whoa,
the league forever.
Whoa.
What?
Whoa!
It starts tomorrow.
Starts tomorrow.
Quick.
Hold on.
Back to back.
Now we gotta look at.
Then something sold out. The first game sold out tomorrow, right? And whoever they're playing,
Indiana. Yes.
Who the Fever playing tomorrow, Shaun?
Yep.
I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Oh,
so I
can
can
right
find out
now.
together.
Oh, and I just
they
pulled it up.
play
baby.
at the Connecticut Sun.
They play the
Connecticut
Sun tomorrow, and they're plus
Yes.
220 to win.
Toddy, don't do it, Toddy. Don't do it. Toddy, don't do it. The Sun are a lot better. The Sun are a lot better than you might think.
Hold
They are
on,
a lot
Shaun.
better.
Your son got some superstars or no?
Come on now, Shaun.
I mean, they got Alyssa Thomas, who finished 3rd in MVP voting last year. She probably should have won. They also have Brianna Jones, who's coming back from a torn ACL. But then the other side of the duo between Alyssa Thomas is her fiance, DeWanna Bonner, who is a great WNBA vet. And so, Jaevon, I don't know if I would sprinkle on the Indiana Fever tomorrow, but I mean, it is Caitlin Clark's debut, so maybe we shall
How much
see.
they want her to score? That's my thing. They probably want her to.
That's a better bet. That's a better bet. I like that. Anyways, as we keep things going here on episode number 96, just getting started, Shaun Holko alongside Jaevon Toddy and Garry Singh. Guys, let's get to the first series in the NBA playoffs that seems like it's nearing a close, and that is Jaevon's number 1 seed Boston Celtics leading the 4 seed Cleveland Cavaliers 3-1 as of tonight, because today the Celtics took care of business in game 4 in Cleveland.
22. That's how much they want her to score tomorrow. That's light work.
22 for number 22.
That's
Seems like easy money to me. And so, Jaevon, without Donovan Mitchell, the Celtics take care of the Cavaliers tonight. But overall, I mean, the Celtics and Jaevon, I know I don't want to rain on your parade. It seems like I am. But the Celtics could have closed out the series tonight. But yet it goes on to a game 5.
Come on, man. We got to make it interesting.
I guess, okay, is that how you want to frame it? I'm just wondering, overall, how you feeling about this series in general? Because the thing that you and I talked about in the pre-show, and I said I was going to repeat it for the podcast listeners, is that for the second series in a row, the Celtics lost a game on their home floor, and they didn't just lose. They got the brakes beaten off of them. And Jason Tatum said after the game, okay, everyone wants us to win by 20 points. They want me to score over 30. Like, they just hold the bar so high for us. And he's right, to an extent. But we don't expect them to win every single game by 25 points. But what we do expect them to do is to hold down home court. And if you are going to slip up and you might lose on your home court because it is the NBA playoffs, Just don't lose by 20 plus points, which they have now done in consecutive rounds against inferior opponents, with the Miami Heat missing Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier. And now you have the Cleveland Cavaliers, who at least had Donovan Mitchell when they beat them in game 2. But anyways, Toddy, all that said, how you feeling about your Celtics in this series?
Yeah, I feel great, man. You know, Shaun made it seem like we lost home court and we're going back to Boston down 3-2 and everything's in shambles. But the Celtics are up 3-1 last time I checked. They've only lost 2 games in the playoffs. I think it's tied with like the Nuggets. I think the Timberwolves are up there for like teams that have lost only 2 games in the playoffs so far. So, I mean, hey, I can't complain. You guys were saying Jason Tatum, he hasn't scored 25 and the PJ Washington has scored 25 more games. I was like, okay, guys, relax. What happened in game 3?
I don't think we mentioned PJ Washington. That must be internet.
JT came out. He had 33. What did he do tonight in game 4? Had 33 again. And let's relax here. I get you guys want us to win, 16 games in the playoffs and just go to the finals and sweep everybody. That's not just how the world works. That's not how it works. It's playoff basketball. We're playing against the Cavaliers. They're a playoff basketball team for a reason. But they'll be competitive from here and there. Now, as far as tonight goes, it was a little bit wonky. Kevin, who's not on the show with us right now, he was the one that broke the news to me that Donovan Mitchell wasn't playing. Because the line of this game was originally at, I believe, 8.5. And I guess when the news about Donovan Mitchell broke, Kevin was like, yeah, you guys are at 12.5 right now. I was like, 12.5? I said, what in the world is going on? And then he was like, yeah, man, no Donovan Mitchell. I was like, Donovan Mitchell's not playing? Damn, we're going to blow him out. But pretty much the story of the year with the Cavs has been Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland really can't play with each other. And usually when one or the other isn't playing, the other one, like the team kind of just stays afloat. Like Darius Garland tonight, for instance, had 30 points tonight, and the game was fairly close. It wasn't like they got blown out. And there was like a stretch where I believe it was Garland and Mobley were out for like months on end. And Donovan Mitchell kind of kept that Cavs team afloat for the majority of 2 months. So we kind of saw that part tonight with Darius Garland kind of being able to have his own team in a sense. Like before Donovan Mitchell was even a Cavalier, like Darius Garland once upon a time was an all-star. Let's not forget that. And then I believe when Donovan Mitchell came, they traded for him. He kind of took a backseat to him. But I feel like with them together, they just never really – I feel like when one's playing like really, really well, the other one is kind of like, all right, like you kind of go ahead and do you. But I feel like they both have to be aggressive at the same time that they're in when they're playing together. So you'd like to see that from the Cavs. But I mean, as far as the series goes, it's pretty much a wrap. Without even looking at the line, I can probably tell you the Celtics are probably favored by like 14 points going into Boston for game 5. That's just a guesstimation of what it would look like because we've been double-digit favorites for the majority of the series, and I don't know. Is Donovan Mitchell going to even play? I'm not sure. This calf strain, we're seeing like quad strain, calf strain. Like OG Anunoby has missed like 2 games already, and is probably going to miss a third. So these soft tissue injuries that we've been seeing in the playoffs are probably coming from overexertion because we noticed that Donovan Mitchell has been dominating the ball a lot. OG Anunoby's playing like 80 minutes a game along with the rest of that starting 5. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But these soft tissue injuries have been killer. And, no Donovan Mitchell tonight. Maybe he could have provided – not maybe. I know for a fact that he would have been a difference in the game. And maybe we're not talking about the Celtics going up 3-1 if Mitchell plays in this game. But shoulda, woulda, coulda. That's not how the game goes. Injuries are a part of the game. And, yeah, Celtics will probably blow them out in game 5. I think it'll kind of just be a walk into the sunset. Maybe we might have seen Donovan Mitchell play his last game as a Cleveland Cavalier. that's not an insane take to say, because who knows if he plays in Game 5.
That is a fair point. And Jaevon, you were talking about how the Celtics are going to probably be favored by double digits in Game 5. However, does that really mean much? Because if you look at the last two postseasons, all 11 of Boston's losses in the last two postseasons have come when favored, and 8 of those games were at home. So they have lost 8 of their last 11 postseason losses have been at home. So home court doesn't really mean much to the Boston Celtics, apparently. And the other thing I would say is that in Game 2, when the Celtics won by 24 points, it was the largest win by a double-digit dog since the playoff, or in the playoffs since 1990-91. And it was by far the largest win by a double-digit underdog, because the Cavaliers won by 24. And then the closest game that it happened was in 2020 when the Orlando Magic beat the Milwaukee Bucks in the bubble by 12. Also happened in 98, also in 93, but more relevantly, it happened in 2020 when the Orlando Magic knocked off the Bucks. So it was another big upset. But Gary, how are you feeling about this series?
I think Vaughn hit it on the money, especially with this Game 4. If Donovan Mitchell's not playing, they're pretty much undermanned in the situation. And, they did have obviously had a Game 2 shocker where they came out and beat the brakes off the Celtics and, showed some life in this series after they were going to be counted out after that Game 1 being down, almost losing by 25. So, these last two games kind of have been close. They tried really hard at night, just wasn't enough offensive firepower. It's kind of a bad mismatch because we know that the Celtics, when they go small, that's not really suiting what the Cavaliers do, and they don't have enough offensive pressure at the rim really to force and make Boston pay for going small in a way. So I feel like they've been Celtics are basically controlling the series of how they want to dictate each possession, how they want to play. And it's tough, man, when a great team has so many weapons like the Celtics. I know I nitpicked a little bit last week on Jason Tatum just being more perfect, like Vaughn mentioned. And, since then I mentioned that, and he's been proving it that, he's been tonight. He closed out the game, him and Jaylen Brown. And, those are the small things we're going to need to see from championship teams that the Celtics, like Vaughn mentioned, they only lost 2 games, I think you said, Vaughn, this playoff run. And so obviously they've been looking great. We all know what the competition of the East has been compared to the West. I feel like it's safe to say that there's been more higher quality basketball, a little bit played more in the East. Not saying in the West. Not saying the East is not great too in their own right, but it's obviously you could just tell. I feel like the intensity and the just the more importance of every possession has been looking more higher on like the Western side. So I would say that, yeah, the Celtics are playing great and they're moving along, but their true test is still coming along down the pipe. So we're going to have to see, man. They're handling business. And like Vaughn mentioned, his team should win this in 5. And I think pretty sure Shaun is picking them winning in 5-2 now and finishing off at home and having a little rest for whoever's going to come out of the dogfight between the Pacers and New York Knicks. So, yeah, they're in a dogfight on that side too, which we'll get to later. So you got to give – and, yeah, I don't know about the whole Donovan Mitchell situation. Hopefully he can play this Game 5 and keep the season alive. If not, we all know there's a lot of trade rumors. Who knows what will happen with him. But side note, we things to watch for. I know Shaun's going to laugh at this and you guys. But, yeah, LeBron was at the game. We don't know what that means. Today's game. In Cleveland.
He was at the game in Cleveland. Oh, my God.
Hey, showed him like 4 times, brother. With Rich Paul and his wife. I don't know. Maybe he's checking on the, down the street in Akron. Maybe checking on his school or something like that, checking on the mansion.
I'm surprised they let him in the building.
Who knows? Who knows? Down, Bronny's down the street in Chicago. Not down the street, but, at the Combine. So, East Coast living.
I am surprised they let him in the building.
And the wine bottle, what is that? What are you trying to show?
The Sporting Tribune tweeted LeBron James enjoying a nice $500 bottle of Opus One at tonight's Cavs Celtics playoff game. I don't know what Opus One is, but apparently it's a notable wine that we have to tweet about. Anywho,
$500 sheesh.
The one thing I will say, I mean, that seems
that's
like
tip money. That's tip money.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like a bit of a cheap wine for someone who's got it like LeBron. Like LeBron's like a billionaire.
Hey man, money's money. $500, man.
Fair, and I'm not much of a wino, so I wouldn't really know. But the one thing I will say in closing about this series, as I expressed to Jaevon in the pre-show, is that it may be okay to have a letdown game against a team like the Miami Heat or the Cavaliers, because those two teams are only going to get the one. But in the next round versus, as Jaevon coughed out, maybe Indy or a New York Knicks team that doesn't have much depth, maybe one game would turn into two. But I would really be concerned if the Celtics ultimately do get to the NBA Finals, because I would be much more concerned doing that against a team like the Timberwolves, or a team especially like the reigning defending NBA champion Denver Nuggets, if the Nuggets were to get past the Timberwolves. I'll even throw out there.
Over here yawning and stuff, but realistically, Shaun, I know what you're trying to say. You're trying to basically say, when the Wolves lost to the Nuggets, they took it from them. Shaun's trying to basically say that he felt like they basically gave one away, and that's the difference between the losses that you're trying to mention earlier. And I think that is a key little part in it.
Well, also, you just look back to very recently. I was kind of joking with Jaevon earlier when he mentioned that Jason Tatum's ultimately going to be in his, sixth Eastern Conference Finals appearance at 25 years old, 26 years old, whatever.
Which is great.
And which is fantastic. But yet, through 5 appearances, they've had one NBA Finals appearance. We think back to the end. But Gary, we think back to that NBA Finals against the Warriors in 2022. The Celtics, if I remember correctly, won game 1. And then the Warriors took game 2. They ultimately ended up winning 3 out of 4 games, and the Warriors closed that series out in 6. And the Warriors team that everyone left for dead said the dynasty was over. They end up getting one more. When in reality, that should have been the beginning of the Celtics dynasty that they could have started building. Instead, they lost. Now they're still trying to get their one. How do you build a dynasty?
Who said there's going to be a dynasty?
I think
they got to start something to even have a dynasty word. Dynasty shouldn't even
that's
dictionary.
My point.
First of all, get champion.
That's my
still
point.
Young, so dynasty is still very young. Could be born still.
I mean, according to Jaylen Brown, he should have already had 5 championships. However,
buddy,
shout out to Taylor Rooks. But Gary, my whole overall point is that the Celtics should have won that NBA Finals. So if they do, then perhaps they're looking to get number 2 this year in 2 out of 3 years. And so the overall point is that the Celtics gave up a game early in that final series, and it was a game that they were unable to recover from. If they do that in the NBA Finals against one of these great Western Conference teams, it's going to be a lot tougher to dig themselves out of that hole than it is versus a Miami or Cleveland. That's all I'm saying. I'll leave it there, because I'm also the same guy that said mid-season that the Celtics would win a championship this year. But they're looking a little fraudulent with these 2 losses. And again, Jaevon, it's 2 losses.
Fraudulent? That's the least. That's a strong word, Shaun.
Fraudulent. Absolutely fraudulent. You should not be losing by 20-plus points on your home court to a Miami team without Jimmy Butler or to this Cleveland Cavaliers team. I'm just saying.
What, the Nuggets got their ass whooped too by 20. You get ass whooped sometimes. Knicks got their ass whooped by 30 last night. They're gonna come back.
I would much rather get slapped around by Ant-Man than this Cleveland Cavaliers team.
Don Mitchell put it on that game, though. You put his hero.
I'm just saying. I'm flagging the Celtics for now. I'm flagging them. They have my attention, and we'll circle back to this if they ultimately end up. Mako agrees with me. The Celtics, they are on.
I think that was a disagree. That was a yelling.
Yeah, perhaps he was like, Shaun, shut up, my Celtics. Nah, we good. Anyways, let's move on, guys. Now, as we have 3 series that are tied at 2, and we'll get to the other Eastern Conference series, and that is the number 2 seed New York Knicks and the number 6 seed Indiana Pacers.
Go New York, go New York, go.
Well, the thing that's interesting about this series is that the Knicks led 2-0 heading to Indianapolis.
Man.
Jalen Brunson going into Indianapolis, that this streak has now come to an end. But as of last Wednesday, or Wednesday morning, Wednesday night, Jalen Brunson had 6 games in a row with 25 points or more, which is the second longest streak in Knicks postseason history, right behind Bernard King with 7, and he tied Carmelo, who had 6 in a row. And so, again, he's putting himself up there with the greatest of the great. But ultimately, the Pacers come back. They win game 3 because of a crazy shot by Andrew Nembhard, who was 1 of 7 until he jacked up that shot from the left wing. And as Gary said, it was deep. It was a heave, and it went in. And the Indiana Pacers ultimately end up taking game 3. Then they come back in game 4. TJ McCollum absolutely gave an uppercut to the Knicks in game 4. The Knicks seemed gassed out, and now the series is tied. So Gary, I'm going to toss it back to you first on this one. Just what did you think about this series thus far? Because I mean, each team is holding down home court.
Exactly, man. I've been loving it. Like every game except this last game 4 has been pretty much nip and tuck the whole way through. And then one team prevails at the very end. Like you mentioned, there was a thriller in game 3 that we had. And I'm just proud of these Pacers, man. These Pacers, everyone after the first 2 losses that were pretty tough in Madison Square Garden, you felt like the Knicks kind of just knew how to close a little bit better than the Pacers. But they answered back on their home floor. Full throttle, Tyrese Haliburton, really getting things shaking. 20 points. He's been playing great the last 2 games, getting his guys involved. You already know he's the engine, and once he gets cooking and becomes a point guard like he is, it just starts manifesting all across the board to all the other players, and you see guys shoot great like Turner, 5 for 5, didn't even miss nothing at all, 13 points, but made all his literally 5 for 5 and 3 for 3 from 3-point land. Everyone is shooting great, and it's trickled down where at the end of the day, they had they came out with the big first 2 big punches in the first, second quarter, and the Knicks weren't able to hit them back, and they weren't able to get back into their groove. When you have, once in a while you had the players that everyone's been raving about finally had a bad game. Finally 2 games, quote unquote. Last game wasn't really bad, but because it was right there, DiVincenzo was getting off game 3 too. So it's just really been one bad game finally from Hart and Brunson, all these guys, basically the starting lineup, DiVincenzo, the Nova guys, had just a bad shooting night where it trickled down, where they weren't able to score 89 points, man. 89 points. And, that's been kind of, if we've been noticing these playoffs, man, defense intensity has been getting up. You haven't been seeing Toomey cracking over 110. Everyone's been pretty much over around 100, 101, maybe even 90s earlier today when we watched 2 games today. So, I think that, Indiana, it's going to be tough, man. I think it's going to be hard to win it looks like it's going to be pretty hard to win a road game for either team. And it looks like whoever steals at home road game first is going to win this series, unless they go to game 7 and, Indiana wins the Knicks win at home. But I picked the Knicks in the beginning of the series. I got them winning game 5. And then I think they're going to, I think we're going to go to game 7, y'all. I think I got the Knicks in game 7. Indiana come back and win game 6. Knicks win game 7. We're going to have the whole showdown all the way down to the very end. And, yeah, the momentum has kind of shifted, obviously, but they can get it right back, especially being back in New York. And they're going to have that crowd jumping. Like I always say, the role players always play better at home, especially in the playoffs. So, it's been a pretty good series so far. It's been an entertaining series so far, and it's just been about the role players, man. Who is shooting good that night has really been dictating the pace of things, because when Indiana gets up and running, it's the Knicks kind of like that pace too in a way, but not too much, depending on, I feel like, who's in the game and whether they really like it or not. And, they like to, obviously run some angles and stuff like that in their game with a lot of cuts and easy baskets. So, running and gunning kind of helps them sometimes, but not really half-court game. So whoever's going to be controlling the pace and controlling each possession is really going to be winning this game here, and I think it's going to be the home team going forward.
Jaevon, how do you see this series going? And I know that you mentioned earlier that it seems like you're leaning towards the Pacers, or at least that's what your cough said.
Or maybe that's what he wants.
Andy.
I mean, it really doesn't matter who the Celtics play, in my opinion.
It's like that.
I just think the Knicks are kind of
like us
running out of gas. Yeah, not like us. It just seems like New York is just running out of gas. You're seeing guys like Brunson, Hart, DiVincenzo. Like DiVincenzo had a 30-point game a few games ago. You saw Josh Hart was able to go off for like a 24 or 25-point game in this series. And I think one thing Gary forgot to mention was the absence of OG Anunoby. His presence is definitely being missed on the perimeter defensively. He's just another guy that can kind of defend on the perimeter. And I think it's kind of just been the tale of 2 teams. Like, you have one team that doesn't really trust a lot of guys, play 5, 6, 7 guys. Whereas Indy, they're playing they're looking. Carlisle's looking deep into his bench. Like, you got guys like Obi Toppin knocking down corner threes. And you had Andrew Nembhard. He hit a prayer of a jump shot in game 3. I just think it's kind of teetering towards Indiana side. Now I get the thing with these playoff series is a lot. Momentum is huge. Whether that is you're going back home and winning, because New York had all the momentum going into game 3, and that was kind of the game that they needed to win. And I believe OG Anunoby got hurt in that game, but Nembhard hit the shot of his life. Like Shaun said, he was like 1 for 7 from the field, and then he buries that step back 3 with time winding down. Thought the game was going into overtime, to be honest, but yeah. And then they lose that game, and instead of going up 3-0, it's 2-1 now, and now Indy has the momentum, and kind of that carried over, and OG's already hurt, and so that kind of all spiraled out of control. But I believe New York is slightly favored in this game coming up. I think it's tomorrow that they play. Brunson hasn't really had a magical game that he has since he's left New York. So getting in front of those fans, it'll be, refreshing for all those guys. But at the same time, it's like, okay, how many people are you going to be playing? Brunson's going to play like 45 minutes. DiVincenzo's going to play 45 minutes. Josh Hart's not going to come out the game. So
no, never.
I think Indiana's going to win. Not just the fact that they're more talented. I feel like it's just they're deeper as far as their bench goes. Brunson can only do so much. Like, I feel like they have a true scoring problem because I don't think Josh Hart's the guy that you want scoring 25 a night. Not really. DiVincenzo can get hot from 3, but like Brunson's like your main scorer. I feel like if you take Brunson away to a certain degree and you make someone else beat you like a Josh Hart or a DiVincenzo, then I feel like it's game over. It's like you don't really have anything else to show. So Halliburton being aggressive in game 2 where he had, 6 points, and then in game 3 he has like 35, and then he's been a guy that and obviously this is his first time being in the playoffs, so he's kind of just trying to adjust to playoff basketball, what it's going to be like for him. But in games that he's more aggressive, usually Indiana wins those games,
especially when they've been D'ing up.
And I think
finally,
and I think in the 2 games they lost, he wasn't really as aggressive. So I feel like with Halliburton, you guys have seen it in that short stint when De'Aaron Fox was hurt for the end of the year, his rookie year, he was growing 40 points here, 40 points there. So it's not like the guy. It's not like he's not capable. It's not like he's not capable of being able to show his offensive prowess. I just think that he's trying to adjust to playoff basketball and what it's like. So I think if Halliburton is going to play like he has been playing in these last 2 games, I think Indy's going to win this series, probably in 6 games. Because if they win in New York tomorrow, it's over. They're going back to Indy. They're not losing in Indy.
Gary, you said 40 with a question mark. You don't remember that game against the Warriors in the Bay when Halliburton dropped 40 with Fox?
I remember that one off the bench, but I don't remember the other one. But yeah,
this is for the Sacramento Kings, guys. That's what they're talking about.
It's all good now, brother.
He's
gone.
Jaevon.
He's gone.
Thank you, Jaevon. I deserve that after everything I was saying earlier about the Celtics. And I'm very glad that Jaevon mentioned the absence of OG Anunoby because it truly has been a game changer in this series in these last couple games.
Deuce McBride.
Yeah, having to play Deuce McBride, but also the defense was mentioned, the defense of the Indiana Pacers. And I want to give a big shout out to former Boston Celtic Aaron Nesmith, who has, I don't want to say locking up, but he has been doing a great job on Jalen Brunson in these last 2 games. I can't remember what the exact number is, but I think the stat was that Jalen Brunson's 7 of 30-something shooting the ball with Aaron Nesmith as a primary defender in the last couple games. Maybe it wasn't that much, but it was 7 of 20. But the point is that Aaron Nesmith is limiting a guy like Jalen Brunson to about 20, 30% shooting when he was shooting 50 to 60. And so shout out to Aaron Nesmith for doing his job too. And just being a dude that's contributing to the team. So we shall see how that series ends up going. Toddy, it sounds like you got Pacers in 6. I heard Gary got Knicks in 7. We didn't have to pick the last series.
Best of 3.
We know how that's going. Yeah, it is a best of 3, and I think I'm going to go with the Pacers in 7 because the reason why I'm going to go Pacers in 7 is I think both teams hold down home court in 5 and 6 as they have continued to do, and then the Pacers steal game 7 just because the Knicks end up getting fatigued and they don't have as much depth. You get into foul trouble, and then you're having to play a guy like who was the name that was just mentioned in place of OG? Deuce McBride. Then you're playing Deuce McBride because Isaiah
McBride's been playing good, y'all. I mean,
too much.
He's been playing
more like let's say Sims. I don't think we played.
Okay,
Jeffries and Milton. Milton has been.
Hey, Daquan Jeffries! Shout out Daquan Jeffries. I interviewed him for a story I wrote about Gabe Vincent for the Sacramento Bee, like back in 2020. You got Daquan Jeffries out there. That's why they should be concerned. That's why.
Why you just shout him out?
I you shouting on and talk shit, John. I don't fucking make sense. Make sense of this shit, man.
Make it make sense.
You shouted him out. Thank you for the story. Then you said, you got Deuce McBride out there.
Cam, clip that.
He would agree. Daquan Jeffries would probably agree that he probably. I mean, would you rather have?
He can agree with. He said, I got some.
He was
2 for 7. He's putting points up. He got 5.
Oh my God, he was 2 for 7. 2 for 7. Congratulations.
He's putting shots up right when he came in. Boom, boom.
Gary, all I'm saying is if I could have Daquan Jeffries or Julius Randle, who would I rather have? I would rather have Julius Randle. If I could have Daquan Jeffries or OG Anunoby, I'd rather have. That's the point, Gary. He's that's the point. But the whole point, and I'm not trying to throw shade at Daquan Jeffries. The point is that Daquan Jeffries should not be in this spot, but they have no depth, so he is. So yeah. The Knicks have Daquan Jeffries out there. That's why the Pacers are going to win it in 7. Anyways, moving on here, episode number 96 of Stats Over Politics. Shaun alongside Gary Singh and Jaevon Toddy.
We're not going to let you say, did you just say they're going to lose the series because Daquan Jeffries out there? I'm working for 13 minutes, bro. He probably played at the end of the game, Shaun. We didn't even see him play, bro. They're not losing because of him. Don't blame that man. Anyways, keep going.
Oh.
If you were listening, I was saying that if the Knicks were to get into foul trouble, then that's when Daquan Jeffries has to enter the game.
Hey,
not just Daquan Jeffries. Jericho Sims, Deuce McBride, all these guys.
Anyway, what's the next series, Shaun?
Pacers in 7. We're moving on. We're going to the best coast, which is the West Coast. And the 1 seed Oklahoma City Thunder clawed back in game 4 to tie the series against the 5 seed Dallas Mavericks at 2 apiece. So, Jaevon, I'm going to throw it to you first because Kyrie is your boy. But before we throw it to Jaevon, I want to mention that the Dallas Mavericks are 3-0 this postseason following a loss. And so keep that in mind going into game 5. Also, Luka Doncic has the most career points per game after a playoff loss ever of all NBA players. Like Luka Doncic averages 34.8 points per game after a playoff loss. That's right ahead of Michael Jeffrey Jordan with 33.2 and Allen Iverson with 30.2 and Jerry West, the logo, 30 even. That's what Luka does in games after a playoff loss. And finally, I will mention that the emergence of PJ Washington has been amazing for the Dallas Mavericks.
Amazing.
Man, in game 2, Luka Doncic and PJ Washington became the first duo in NBA playoff history, each with 25 points, 10 rebounds, and 5 3-pointers in a game. And so, PJ Washington has really stepped up, Jaevon, but what have you seen in this series between the Mavericks and the Thunder?
Well, I'll start off with tonight. I felt like the Mavs kind of had this game in the bag, but OKC went on a run late in the 4th. Going on that 9-0 run was pivotal for them. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander having to do a lot with that. I just think that when it comes to, these late, because most of these games are kind of coming down to the wire for the most part. You have to be able to, A, make your free throws, and B, not turn the ball over. And I feel like that's what the Mavs did towards the end of this game. They had a lot of missed free throws, a lot of miscues, I'd say, down the stretch that kind of hurt more than helped them. And, OKC kind of just capitalized off of that. And you got a guy in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the top players, an all-NBA caliber type of player, in his first playoff stint. He's shown the world why he's one of the better players in the league. And him leading the way with 34 points, kind of putting the team on his back is speaking volumes to, we get that we don't have that much experience, but we can still come out here and we're the number one seed for a reason. And they came out and got a road victory. And that's what great playoff teams are able to do, go out and get these road victories. I just think, when it comes to Dallas, they got to they cannot turn the ball over and miss free throws because that was huge for them down the stretch. I don't know if you guys noticed, but Luka is clearly hurt. The way that he's kind of limping and wobbling around the place. So Shaun's, stat that he said that he's one of the best players in NBA history, off of a loss. I would like to push back just a little bit off of that due to his health. I don't know how healthy that he is. And another thing, Kyrie Irving had 9 points, which is that is unacceptable in a playoff game, especially if you're trying to go up 3-1 and go into a potential closeout game on the road. So Kyrie was off tonight. That was very pivotal. I thought Shai made a lot of key buckets down the stretch. Really, a lot of their young core did. You had Jalen Williams with the baseline dunk that he had, which kind of looked like a double dribble, but I mean, I thought he kind of double dribble, got away with it. He had a steal down the stretch late in the game. Chet Holmgren hits a very clutch corner three. And their young core, man, they're making plays down the stretch. So they have the momentum now going into OKC, and they can take a 3-2 lead and go up and then go back to Dallas up 3-2 in a potential elimination game. So this series, I feel like, has probably been the best series of all of the playoff series so far, because there's really a lot of back and forth. And the Thunder are the number one team, so but they haven't really been favored by much in most of these games because of the star power, obviously, in Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. But OKC, man, they might go to the Western Conference Finals, and just a lot of people who weren't really picking them to make it that far. I mean, you might blink and see them in the Western Conference Finals. So, hats off to the Thunder for winning this very key game. They couldn't go down 3-1. If they would have went down 3-1 to OKC, it would have been very, very tough for them. But hats off to the young Thunder.
Gary, where do you see this series going? Because just like the others, it's now become a best of three. And as Jaevon mentioned, Luka Doncic, as great as he is after a playoff loss, he is pretty limited, or at least he's injured right now. So actually, let me reframe that, because the thing in sports is people always say, are you hurt or are you injured? Luka Doncic is clearly hurt, but he's playing through it right now. If he was injured, I think he'd just be out completely, unless he's just playing because he will continue to play unless he was immobilized. Anyways, Gary, where do you see this series shaking out?
I think I got the Mavs still winning this series. I still think they can win it in actually 6, to be honest with you. I can see that. I see them winning game 5. Like you mentioned, they've been pretty good off of losses. I don't really see Kyrie and Luka having 2 back-to-back bad games, quote unquote. And tonight, Kyrie wasn't even bad, really. It was just that he didn't really be aggressive as much. That's because really he was 9 assists. He was really playing great point guard. They're double teaming. He was finding Lively on some good pick and roll stuff. He was finding PJ Washington in the corners, who was hitting the shot. Like Shaun mentioned earlier with PJ Washington, shout out to him because he's been, first of all, he loved the energy and loved the vibe he brings to the game. He looks hilarious and always, just down for the call. Looks like he just wants to always win. And, he was pinned in the picture in a negative light when he was with the Charlotte Hornets because of all the losing they've been doing. And so him having an opportunity to showcase his skills on a big stage. He's been coming through. He's a big body. He can do a lot of versatile things, and he's proving it right now. So shout out to him. And so tonight, it was like Vaughn mentioned right when the beginning of his statement. You mentioned that, Dallas really had control this whole game pretty much. And you would look at the numbers, you would think maybe it probably would have been OKC because they look like they had more of the scoring, and Luka obviously only having 18 points and Kyrie having 9, you would think that it would have been dominated the whole time. But like you guys mentioned, big fourth quarter, 35-point fourth quarter for the OKC. And again, now, Raven for the OKC side, them just keep proving everyone wrong, man. Like, I know everyone, Jaevon said, might be like blank and be shocked that they're there, but ain't really no shocker, man. They handle business first round. They're going toe to toe with some old. Kyrie's the old school guy in a sense in this series, but going toe to toe with guys who have a little bit more experience than them. And then they're either gonna play as a young team, which they can if they can beat Minnesota. I don't see why not. It's gonna be tough. And then if they beat Denver, then they go against the champion. So this team is obviously ahead of schedule. We didn't even mention they have the 12th pick now next year's draft ahead of our Sacramento Kings. We have 13. So they're swimming in pure money right now, and it's just looking all wonderful. And you see Chet Holmgren doing good things on the floor, and it's just really his rookie year. So there's really nothing bad to say about either one of these teams. The beginning of the year and perspective wise, people were, looking down on this Kyrie trade and things of nature, but man, oh man, that man is playing like a vet and really proving and really elevating. Everyone's always wondering when is Kyrie elevated, and you can see right now, guys, like this is him elevating these other teams. He's helping Luka teach these other guys how to win. He's being a real vet. You could just see like people. He's building faith in people. He's doing everything, quote unquote, that everyone wants to hate on him for not being a leader before. He's doing it now, and we don't even know if that was ever true because his teammates always talked positively about him before. It was just always been the outside perspective of him. I guess his coach, the media, or however you want to disagree with him saying. So now, the vaccine or whatever Shaun would say, flat world, whatever people thought, I would say that he's proven now that, especially him. So if he could kind of, I don't know if he did it on purpose or he's always done like that, but he can also kind of take a twist in terms of how he's been, showing praise and doing his interviews. I feel like too, he's been more. I think people are just loving him more, and as they should, man. He's a great person. He's always been down to earth, and maybe I just feel like he's been guided or mislooked at. Vaughn's always been a fan, and I don't know if Shaun's been I can't remember if Shaun's always been a fan or liked or disliked or just was indifferent. I'm not sure, Shaun, what your opinion on Kyrie always was, but I've always been a fan of his game, and I think everyone's been a fan of his game. So that's one thing you can never hate on him. And man, oh man, tonight, if he just would have been a little bit more aggressive, and I thought he was, I ain't gonna lie, I thought he was gonna be the fourth quarter, like all game, pass, and end the game, but just didn't really get that moment for them. And shout out to SGA, man, does it again, took over. These guys, OKC team, they weren't shooting good from three. I think they made a first three like late first quarter by what's his name, Giddey, and Giddey don't make that many threes, and that was like a 1 for 7 at that point. So they just kept pushing after missed shots, and finally got some to go down, attacked the paint, controlled the paint in a way in the fourth quarter in a way, got to their shots and made the buckets. And man, oh man, Dallas is right there, but they just couldn't get, they're being a little sloppy, a little turnover battle, things of that nature. Just couldn't get the mojo back after they lost it. Like Vaughn mentioned, the 9-0 run. They just couldn't get the momentum back. And we keep mentioning, it might be on repeat, but momentum is a key inside playoff series. You've seen last night, we're going to talk about it later, but that end of the quarter three-pointer, deep three heave by Jamal Murray quarter changes that game, you know what I'm saying? Because that changes momentum, stops momentum for the other team. And like we mentioned, teams mentioned over and over, momentum is key. And so they had the momentum towards the end, and boom, 196. And a couple missed free throws by, Luka could have tied it up. That would have been a change the whole situation up. PJ Washington makes his free throw. So, little things like that, man, add up, and then boom, it's tied 2-2. When it could easily been 3-1, you had a chance to close them on their home floor next game. So we're in a dogfight, you guys, and I wouldn't be shocked from either one winning. But to answer your question, Shaun, I got Dallas, I think, winning in 6 in this one.
I think that this one's really tough. I'm really shocked at what I saw from OKC tonight. I thought Dallas was going to win tonight, go up 3-1, commanding, perhaps close it out in 5, win those 4 straight. But I was really surprised by what I saw tonight from OKC. And Luka's injury, as Toddy pointed out, I do think will end up being a factor. I'm going to go OKC in 7 in this one. So spoiler alert for the next series, but I actually got all 3 of these remaining 2-2 series going 7, best of 3. Garry, first round, you wanted to see every series go 7. You didn't get that. You might get 3 out of 4 in this one. You might get 3 out of 4 in this one. As guys, we get to the last series now, and you both had said that you felt that the Thunder and the Mavericks were the best series in these semifinals. I personally think the Nuggets and the Timberwolves, we'll have to rewatch the tape. But I personally think the Nuggets and the Timberwolves has been the best series of these semifinals thus far because, Timberwolves come out game 1, they steal game 1. I was the only one out of all of us to actually predict that. Then in game 2, the Timberwolves come back and they win game 2 and they absolutely stomp out the Nuggets. Everyone was writing Denver's obituary, but then they kind of forgot, well, these are the reigning champions and they are pretty good. And so then the Nuggets come back in game 3. They hold on. They win game 3. They win game 4. And now we have a tied series. So, Garry, I'm going to toss it to you first on this one. Where do you see this series going? And who do you got winning it?
I'm sticking with my pick. Before, last time we talked in the pod, I think I had Timberwolves in 6 or 7. I can't remember, but I got Timberwolves winning. I'm pretty sure I said 6 winning at home in game 6. So I'm going to rock with them in game 6. Obviously, both teams have not secured home court at all, and there's been all road wins, which is, always eye-popping. But, I picked game 3 because I knew that there's no way Denver is going to be losing game 3 because I don't care even though it was going to be tricky because it was, first game in Minnesota and everything like that. But heart of the champions, hard to take them down. They got a lot of smart players on the team where I knew they were going to have to figure it out and, figure out all the aggression and length that the Timberwolves have been throwing at them. They figured it out. Game 4, they were kind of going nip and tuck. Denver kind of controlled the whole game. And they nip and tuck in a way where Timberwolves were getting close, but just couldn't get over the hump. And that was pretty much it, man, in terms of, again, this series is going to come down to, again, obviously I mentioned it before, but role players. And when guys like Aaron Gordon go 11 to 12, 2 for 2, not missing no free throws, Jokic, we already mentioned, but Caldwell Pope, he had a bad shooting night, but I'm trying to mention guys obviously who didn't Reggie Jackson had a good night, 2 for 3 from 3-point line, 2 for 4. Braun, 4 for 4 from the free throw, 3 for 4 from shooting. So guys like that who are just showing up and showing out and playing pretty much perfect to a T is really going to how this team's going to be able to win this series. And, again, Ant-Man's going to, he's been showing up 44 again. Man, he's been balling, but he's going to need some help, man. Towns is going to be the key. Had a bad shooting night. We already know Gobert's going to be a defensive guy, so wherever he gives you extra is great. It's really on Gobert and Towns and Ant to really get everything cooking. And from there, once that gets cooking, that's when everyone else can, chip in where they fit in. And so it starts with those two really being great. I still got the Timberwolves, like I just mentioned, winning this. And I got them winning in 6. If it goes to game 7, it's going to be pretty tough, I think, to win a game 7 in Denver for Timberwolves. And I still want I think Timberwolves are going to win this series. So, and win the next 2 is going to be tough too, man. That's real tough, especially if this is part of this game, pivotal game 5 in Denver. But if anyone could do it, I think it's the Timberwolves team. They're going to have to step up on defense, man. Like the first 2 games, they had these guys on lockdown. 80, 99 points. Boom, they came back home, flipped the table, 117 and 115. So they got to get back to the lockup drill we were talking about in the first 2 games. And obviously Jamal Murray and Jokic are really tough to stop when they get that 2-man game. They know where every pocket pass is, every pass to the corner is, where everyone should be. And it's about missing shots. So they got to keep trying to be a little smarter. I feel like they've been kind of double teaming too early. I feel like they should go back to kind of what they were doing before, just playing that one-on-one and just letting their length take over, not fully committing because that's been hurting them, because Joker's going to find that easy pass to hurt you. So I think that's what they got to do. They got to make Joker just play one-on-one and try to score all the points and just keep the other guys out of it. Because when other guys are in it, man, it just feels like everything's falling down. So, and offensively, you already know that the Timberwolves have struggled offensively all year in a way, and this playoff run they haven't. And we're seeing it now where they've kind of been stopped a little bit in this last 2 games. So Ant's doing whatever he can, man. He needs a little help. Simple as that. And they got the weapons to do that. So if they can hit a couple more shots and get them closer in this game, I think the clutchness of Ant is going to rise here. And we're going to see it. We've already been talking about a star being born, and maybe we're jumping the gun. They might be too early, but I think think that this is the series that he can really, make that leap into superstardom right now. So I still believe that's going to happen. And hey, we're going to see, man, because it would be crazy to see him in the finals at the age he's in and knock on the door already. That would be a thing, maybe since Magic to win this early in his career, really. We've seen LeBron go there, but we're actually winning it. I don't remember the last guy to win it, like what, 23, 24? Is it even that yet? So crazy.
It is crazy. And Jaevon, the craziest part about this series to me is the fact that the road team has won every single game of this series thus far, which is a parallel opposite to the Knicks and Pacers series where the home team has won every game. But in game 4, you had Nikola Jokic score 35 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He scored 16 of those points in the fourth quarter. And not only that, because that's the reigning MVP, we kind of haven't talked about the awards too much. I mean, Wemby won Rookie of the Year. Gobert got his 4th Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, and Nikola Jokic won MVP for the 3rd time in 4 years.
Oh, yeah.
We expect Nikola Jokic to drop 35 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. But Aaron Gordon started 10 of 10 yesterday and scored 27 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, finished 11 of 12. And even Anthony Edwards, in a loss, 44 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 5 3-pointers made.
What did he say about Gordon? He said
he was talking shit.
No, but after he let the press conference, his breath was like, damn, Aaron Gordon, that many points? Something like that, he said.
Exactly. And Anthony Edwards now has 4 40-point playoff games, and the Timberwolves are only 2-2 during those games, Jaevon. So what have you seen from this series?
Come on, Mike Conley.
From the Ohio State University.
He got 15 now. Something.
I just think, do the Timberwolves have to go on the road? I mean, our good friend Wesley, who was talking so much shit to everyone.
Where has he been? Where has he been?
To Kevin, who he's been talking the most shit to. Haven't really heard too much from him. I've been, they go up 2-0 against the defending champs, and you're going back home. You're going back home up 2-0. This is like backs against the wall. Like, if they don't win game 3, like, it's over. Like, even if they lose game 4, you're up 3-1 still. So it's like, for you guys to go home and lose both games at home, it's alarming. And now the defending champs, they smell blood in the water. They're like, oh, you guys, we thought you thought we were just gonna lay down, huh? And I'm pretty sure I was one of those guys. The majority of the world thought that the Nuggets were like, all right, it's looking kind of bad. Based off those first 2 games in Denver, you got Anthony Edwards going off, Karl Anthony Towns doing his thing. They won by like 30 without Rudy Gobert. That was like, whoa. And you got Jamal Murray throwing shit on the court, and Michael Malone's getting in the rest face and not getting ejected. So it's like, I thought the Nuggets kind of caught a break with the Jamal Murray thing. Because, like, should he have gotten suspended for, throwing shit on the court? I haven't seen anybody really go that far. And, the whole antics with Michael Malone was kind of weird too. But I mean, hey, going into game 3, they kind of started really fast and kind of took control of the game early. And the Timberwolves really just didn't have any answer for them. And kind of the same thing in game 4. Not really letting the Timberwolves get into a rhythm. Karl Anthony Towns was erratic most of the game. Didn't really play too well. I mean, Ant did his thing, but it's kind of like, all right, guys, any day now, you guys want to show up. I'm here doing everything I can. And, with a 44-point game, and you're kind of looking at everybody else's stats. It's like 13, 9, 11 points. Like, that's not going to get the job done. So maybe it's just that the Timberwolves were at home. They got to win on the game. They got to win on the road. That could be another thing too. So there's another coin flip series, and it could kind of go either way. But right now, if I had to pick a team right now, it probably would be Denver, because Denver is, they're like, oh, you were supposed to finish this off, at least get 1 in Minnesota. But now it's like, okay, we got some wiggle room now. The series is tied. We can go up 3-2, and we could close it out in 6 games if need be. If we win a game at home, and then carry that momentum on over back to Minnesota.
Yeah, that's a good point. So where are you ultimately siding in this one, Jaevon? Do you got the Timberwolves pulling it out or what?
I'm gonna say Denver in 7. I think go 7 games. Yeah,
probably a good choice.
One thing Michael Malone said in one of his, I think it was after game 2, they said that they need Jokic to play like an MVP for them to be able to have a chance in the series. And he's been nothing but spectacular since that. I think for the most part of the series, he's been playing very well, but I feel like his contribution in these last 2 games have really helped them, kind of propelled them to, oh, yeah, this is the reason why we're the defending champs. This is the reason why he's a 3-time MVP.
Gary, did you mention who you actually have winning this series? Was it the Wolves? You
said
you're
Wolves
stick
in
with
6.
the Wolves. You're
Wolves
sticking
in
with the
6.
Wolves in 6.
Yep. I don't know if
Good
Vaughn
luck.
said that last time we talked, but it's all good.
I said
think-
like Wolves in 5
Okay.
after game.
Scrap that. Let me go.
Yeah.
That's what he said.
I think I'm gonna go with the Nuggets in 7 as well, Jaevon. I think that the defending champs end up grinding it out. But we shall see. This has been my favorite series thus far, and by the time that we talk next week, gentlemen, each series will have completed, and we will be on to the conference finals.
We have all.
We
games
know
We'll be there.
Jaevon.
this weekend.
We know Jaevon's team's gonna be there. I don't know about these other 6 teams, but it's been another great episode of Stats Over Politics. That's going to do it for us. Make sure to give us a like on YouTube. It helps us a lot. And if you enjoyed the podcast, hit subscribe to get notifications when we go live. You can follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Stats Over Politics and on X at Stats or Politics. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on all podcast platforms. And if you're enjoying the show, give us those 5 stars. We'd really appreciate it. As you guys have been tuned into episode number 96 of Stats Over Politics, for my guys Jaevon and Toddy, Kevin Dent, Gary Singh, I've been your host, Shaun Holko. Thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next Monday on another episode of Stats Over Politics.
Caitlin Clark over.
Caitlin Clark over. Watch the W.